Hey guys, I just wanted to talk about, where do we go now that we fired Joe Barry? Now, let's just do maybe a quick rundown of maybe what things went wrong with Joe Barry. So now the defense never improved. After Mike Pettin, Joe Barry, I believe, was brought in more for the Vic Fangio idea versus what he actually knew or did as a coach. Now, gosh, it was such a mixed bag, right? It's like the original thing with Joe Barry was it just seems like he never adapted to the team that he had. It's like he just knew how to play this scheme and was just like, all right, you guys are gonna just execute this. It's like I don't care what you're really good at, just execute what I need you to do, and you'll be good. They'd given him multiple multiple players with a lot of great talent. But it just seems like he never really took advantage of that talent. And so they were always constantly playing soft coverage underneath, and they never wanted to get beat deep, which the Packers didn't really not get beat deep. But when everybody is running the ball down your throat, carving you up left and right, and they're throwing the ball underneath, and you're not really rallying and tackling and causing other turnovers, you're going to get picked apart. And I can't tell you guys how many times did we see games where the Packers would just basically let the other team march down the field, get to the red zone, and then it's like, okay, maybe they might just give up a field goal or they're going to just give up a field goal, which it's like, okay, you gave up only a field goal. But the problem is that you would see this constantly and then in big moments. I'm pretty sure we all, when the Packers played the Rams this past year with Ripon, I'm pretty sure we all said, "Oh my gosh, Ripon is going to have a Hall of Fame game here." He didn't, and the Packers actually handedly won that game. But let's then look what happened further down the season. Tommy DeVito, Bryce Young ripped them apart. Baker Mayfield ripped them apart. Now Baker Mayfield, got the team to the divisional round, but the way that the Packers played, they just played so passive. They were passive the entire season. Ever since Joe Barry's been the head coach of the head coach. Whew, let's hope he's never the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. He's the defensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers. We always just felt like they would never had games in hand. For instance, anytime you watch the game, it always felt like maybe the first half would go really well. By means of that is like holding the other team to like 17 points. But then you're always like, well, what's gonna happen in the second half? Because it could all completely fall apart because we knew he was never going to make adjustments. That was the other issue. There were never adjustments made. It was just like he would just roll the game plan out and just say, all right, well, let's just repeat what we did. Whereas it was very different with Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur seems to be like either he's got a great game plan for the first half, and then the second half he doesn't collapse, but he just like forgets it and switches playbook, or he does the opposite. He has a very bland first half and a very good second half. Joe Barry never gave any of that. And it also seems like a lot of the Joe Barry teams, they start off very slow in the first half of the season. All of a sudden, I don't know if Matt LaFleur all of a sudden started putting pressure on him, being like, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, fix this, do that. And then all of a sudden, the defense just played better. I remember last year, remember the jaw game, Packers versus Vikings. All of a sudden, we went from getting shredded by every top receiver, getting shredded by everybody else, to all of a sudden Ja just shuts down Justin Jefferson and just basically ends Jefferson's season for chasing like the most receiving yards I think that year. He basically just says, "Nah, bro, you're not doing that." So it just seems like Joe Barry didn't really have the handle on that. So now I want to discuss of what I'm looking for the new defensive coordinator. Now I don't think a lot of the guys that are being mentioned are going to really have a chance. Like Mike Vrabel is not coming. Bill Belichick is not coming. Who else? I don't think it's gonna be Al Harris. I think maybe he might get an interview. I think it's gonna actually come down to like either Jim Leonard or somebody else that we don't even see coming. Now, the reasons why well, let's start off with maybe what I want them to look for in the defensive coordinator. I want a defensive coordinator that's going to be more proactive than reactive, and also somebody that's going to be a little bit more aggressive in the style of how they coach the team. I maybe the way the way Joe Barry definitely was saying it was like, don't get beat deep, get beat underneath, and a lot of numbers have shown this year that quarterbacks are very happy with just dinking and dunking themselves down the field. They're fine with just doing checkdowns. They're fine with just getting 8 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, 7 yards, something like that, as opposed to constantly going for those deep shots that we were seeing for the past few years. So I do think there needs to be a coach that's going to change up the scheme with the times. I think that you need guys to be a little bit more aggressive. I don't think this year we saw many uh, defensive plays where they caused their own turnovers. They forced the hand of the offense to put them in a mode that they just like the offense didn't know how to react. The defense needs to be way more aggressive, I would say. I think when they sent more blitzes, they confused more teams. They had more pressure and they brought more pressure. And that's when the Packers really started to play well defensively. The other aspect, I mean, maybe more corner blitzes, maybe more safety blitzes, maybe different coverages, different schemes. They need way more exotic stuff than what they were constantly playing underneath Joe Barry. I believe I also heard numbers from like Locked On Packers that the Packers are like one of the most predictable coverages that they would play this past year. They were very predictable. I think they were ranked in like the top three in predictable coverages because they basically would just sit in the same coverage every single time. They need to get away from that. Play to the strengths of Josh, plays to the strengths of Stokes, assuming that both of them are back and both of them are healthy. They were really great in man coverage. Um, let's get again. We don't know how the roster is going to pan out, but I would love to see a little bit more aggressiveness on that end. Play some more man, blend in the concepts, and maybe that's why I think that they're better off going with also maybe somebody a little bit unknown. And what I mean by that is somebody that's like not this standout name that we're all expecting, kind of like what the Packers did with Matt LaFleur. Matt LaFleur, I remember when he was he was interviewing for the head coach spot, people were just like, dude, who is this and why is this even a conversation? Like, they have Aaron Rodgers, they can't be doing this. Get somebody with experience. Maybe they need to go somebody a little bit unexperienced. And I'm not saying this has to be the first defense that he's calling, but somebody that's really been learning and growing. Maybe you go to the college ranks and take one of those defensive coordinators. Somebody that's been dealt has lesser prospects, but tends to raise the floor with those lesser prospects. And I think that's why Jim Leonard was also a very big name and has been a very big name because he had taken apparently lesser talent and raised the floor with them and raised the ceiling even with those guys, and they were a much better defense. So I would love to see them go into that. And again, I would love to see a defensive coordinator that's maybe like a little bit more of wanting to punch people in the face a little bit, right? Wants to blitz teams, tells the guys, "Hey, go for the rip, punch the ball. Let's get some strips, like let's get some strip sacks. Let's get cause more turnovers because you haven't had a team really like that since what, like the Dom Caper years when he had Clay Matthews, B.J. Raji, Charles Woodson, Nick Collins, like those guys. If you look back, they forced so many turnovers, and I feel like the Packers haven't had that defensive mind and that identity since then. So that's what I would really that's what I'm really looking for in the next defensive coordinator and the ideas and concepts. I don't have exact names because I feel like we need to get the candidates into the door first on who Matt LaFleur wants to look at, and then we can start to weed through and start to pick out who we want and why we want them. Ejiro from Carolina was a name from back in the day. I don't think he's going to be looking for a defensive coordinator job, probably more of a head coaching job. But I want to see more of that line because I remember when he was interviewing too. I was like, "Who is this guy, dude? I've never heard of this guy." Like, it's like you heard of him, but you didn't know exactly. And then you start breaking it down. It's like, okay, wait, let's give him. This is the guy we probably should give a shot, but they didn't. But I would like to see more of that, more exciting, unknown, but promising ideas and concepts is what I'm looking for. And then other than that, I would love to see. I would love to just see somebody that I really think is going to have a promising future for us for maybe the next 2 to 3 years, and then may also go get another head coaching job. That would be ideal. So we'll see. I'm really excited about the new possibility of a new defensive coordinator, and then hopefully some new defensive coaches, and hopefully a new, fresher take and new identity to this Packers defense because I think they do have the talent, and they will be bringing in more talent because we do know that they have a lot of draft picks coming up. I'm gonna be looking to do some more videos like this, guys. Peace out, and thanks for tuning in. Later.